Welcome viewer to the Monopoly Iceberg. This is not a video on gameplay, but rather an in-depth analysis about the different intricate layers of what makes this game so great and in some cases disturbing, where we will dive into the depths of the iceberg of what Monopoly is and subjects that surround it. The earlier stages will be more discussing about things in-game, strategies you can use, and a few fun facts about the title. But as we go into the deeper layers, things may get a bit more, how do we put this? Interesting, to put it lightly. This video assumes you already know what the iceberg meme is, but in case you do not, give it a Google search and then come back. Now let us begin our dive in the Monopoly Iceberg. Layer 1. Go. This layer is just the surface level stuff, knowledge that pretty much anyone who knows what the game is should be able to tell you. And you can see most of these stuff in memes, popular jokes, and even on Reddit. Orange is the best color set. If you've watched any tips and tricks video on how to win Monopoly, a lot of them will tell you that orange is in fact the ideal property set to buy. You might wonder, if you're a total noob, hold on a second, shouldn't I simply get blue or green? They're the most expensive and their rent is the highest. Well, definitely not. Orange is in fact the best one to acquire overall because it has the best balance in the speed of development, how much the rent is, and how often people land on it. Due to its position from jail, it is in fact one of the most likely property sets to land on. And plus, if other players do not know this trick, it's an easy buy to be able to trade, let's say, a yellow for an orange, and the noob will think, I'm actually getting a really good deal, when in reality, the noob is getting fooled. Because while he holds onto his expensive undeveloped, you have the best balance between speed of development, rent price punching power, and your position on the board. The best part about this is that people get sent to jail quite often, and given how the dice is rolled, orange is most likely to be rolled in the game. Therefore, your set is most likely to be rolled on, it has good prices, and you're going to get rent most often, making orange the best color set in the game. 2025 Revival. Unbeknownst to many, but the year 2025 was a year where board games were quite lacking. And if you tried getting something out of your shelves, people would ask you, Cluedo in the Big 25? Pretty much every game that was popular back in the day succumbed to this unusual event of mass extinction. But not Monopoly. Hasbro gave Monopoly a complete redesign and some other content we'll get into as we progress down the iceberg. Pretty much 2025 was a year of revival for this game, and I like to see that because this game was one of my childhood favorites. Hooray! The game's history. Monopoly began in the early 1900s, but its story is often misunderstood. In 1903, Elizabeth Maggie created a game called The Landlord's Game to show how unchecked capitalism and land monopolies could harm society. Her goal was educational, not entertainment. Over time, players modified the game, and versions spread informally across America. During the Great Depression, however, a guy named Charles Darrow earned one of these homemade versions, found it, and sold it to the Parker Brothers in 1935. The company used Monopoly as a success story, and it quickly became a hit. Parker Brothers later bought Maggie's version, largely putting away their own. Today, Monopoly is one of the best-selling board games ever, with many versions here and there, blah blah blah, you already know this. Pretty much the history of Monopoly, a quick Google search away for those interested. The car piece. There is something peculiar in every single Monopoly. There is a car token that everyone seems to want. Everyone likes the car token. Brum brum! the vehicle that goes down the track, and everyone who thinks they have it either has a high ego, thinks they are the main character, or just really like cars. If you are one of these three, tell me down below which one you are. I know which one it is. Hidden Rage game. Monopoly looks friendly enough on the surface, but inside is a highly competitive game where people can get frustrated quite easily. Like, seriously, those who played the game can tell you, landing on Mayfair or Broadwalk if you're American can get very frustrating. From untold stories of flipped over boards to shouting matches, this game is full of rage, and that's why I love it. The emotions run wild. Ah, yes. And here we reach level 2, the main bulk of the surface. Free parking. In this layer, this is what people would know if they have quite a bit of knowledge in the game and actually play it quite regularly. This layer most of you should be familiar with, but regardless, let's get into it. This one is quite fun. Extreme number of variants. Monopoly is unique in the fact that they have different variants of their own game. But Tom Ford, many board games have different themed variants of their game. That is correct. But what if I was to tell you that Monopoly doesn't have just tens, or even hundreds, but thousands of different variants of Monopoly throughout its history, ranging from different themed ones from TV shows and games, to ones which have outright completely different mechanics that make the game unrecognizable to normal players. Well, Monopoly's got everything for every different kind of player. For the sore loser, the one who wants to finish in 10 minutes, those who like jackpot prizes, and for cheaters. Those people are quite devious. But you know what? Mr. Monopoly always has a title for your tastes. Forgotten Rules. You might think that this should be in Tier 3, because, you know, Tier 2 is supposed to still be mostly known knowledge, but, you know, veterans of the game will still understand this one quite well. There are some rules in the Monopoly manual that gets overlooked very often. Stuff including the fact that if someone goes bankrupt and they have to give you their properties, you either have to unmortgage them immediately or pay a 10% value fee to keep them mortgaged. I'll admit here, I did not know about that rule until this year. Other forgotten rules include that free parking actually doesn't give you a free jackpot on the middle of the board. That is actually a house rule. And another one is that you are not allowed to make exceptions to rent. You as the player have to collect rent from any potential victims you have. I know, very unrealistic. House rules. Oh, this is a fun one. Remember that thing about free parking I literally mentioned a few seconds ago? Well, it is a house rule. House rules, for those of you who do not know, are rules that change the game how it's played, decided by the players before it starts. Things like landing on free parking gives you a jackpot in the middle, landing on go gives you 400 instead of 200, you can build more than one house on a single property, and so forth and go on. Monopoly is a game about family and fun. But Mr. Monopoly, and Hasbro for that matter, warns against house rules as they are quite notorious for extending the game far longer than it already is. So use house rules at your discretion and sparingly. Pro strategies. Oh, the veterans are going to like this one. Everyone has heard, orange is the best color set. But is that really how simple the game is? No way! There are some other things that, in case someone else manages to get their hands on orange, which happens more often than you would like, well, here are some listed pro strategies you could use. For one, always have money. even at the cost of losing properties. You do not understand this until it hits you. Having $600 at all times is the sweet number. With that, you can survive most rent reliably, build houses when you need to, and, have them trading for other people who are broke and to purchase other people's mortgaged properties. Another pro strategy is to build houses in front of where the bulk of players are, making them land on it and give you a quick buck instead of having to wait, potentially making you having to sell those houses. Another pro tip I have is buy the train stations. Seriously? Those things do not seem that good, but when you have all four of them, can be very helpful even when you're the underdog here, because every single side of the board will always pose a threat, though a low chance, a threat whenever anyone comes passing by, and you are bound to gain quite a few 200s as the game progresses. And one last pro strategy I have for you is this. Buy certain properties if you're particularly afraid of certain color sets just to hold to prevent other people getting the full color set. For example, if someone has 2 oranges, you can hold on to the 3rd orange just so he wouldn't be able to develop it, wasting him plenty of money. Popularity. Oh my goodness, where do I start? There is a reason why Monopoly has roughly 4,000 variants of itself, which is an extremely high number, and it keeps growing as the years pass. The reason for this is because from every single board game in existence in human history, Monopoly is 3rd place, the most purchased board game of all time, only beaten by the likes of the titans of checkers in 2nd and chess in 1st. That is shocking and impressive to say the least, and no wonder this game is bought so often. It's good for everyone. It's good for little kids and adults alike to play with and rage with each other. So yeah, that's pretty much it with popularity. Utilities are not bad. Guys, I know! They're overpriced, there's only 2 of them on the board, they are hot garbage. Every single YouTube video will tell you, do not buy the utilities, but I say no! Buy them! You have no idea how often, in the late game, someone rolling a 12, landing on it, and giving you $120 can save you or break you, if you're on the receiving end. In fact, my last Monopoly game, as of recording this video, I was pretty much ruined, not bankrupt, but ruined, doomed to lose because of these annoying this utility set, and I know it's overpriced, I know it doesn't give you money, but in the late game, if your opponent dominates, let's say, the purple, the pink, and the yellow color set, having a safe spot in between those two, especially when you're poor, can be a game saver. Always buy utilities if you can get them cheap from other players or auction it at a low price. Do not underestimate them. And here we are at the last of Tier 2 free parking. DLCs. Isn't this an interesting one? Regarding what I earlier said about the 2025 revival, Monopoly wanted to shake things up a bit, and instead of putting out yet another set of variants, which they did do anyway, they thought, why don't we make the vanilla game a little spicier? And they released not 1 or even 2, but 3 DLCs at the same time. One themed around the free parking jackpot, the most popular house rule in the game. One about buying everything, a DLC that allows you to purchase the corners, go to jail, taxes, and even chance and community chess tiles. It allows you to buy everything. And the third one is about rewarding you for going to jail. I know, how ironic. These DLCs are personally very fun, but overusing them can get a bit overwhelming, as if handled poorly, can cause a lot of frustration and it might mess up the game. So use them at discretion. Each one can be played separately, but honestly, it's up to you. Have fun. DLCs are awesome. Love them. And here, in level 3, we start to take a dive. Things becoming a little more serious. In tier 3, go to jail. Here, we go out and beyond for people who have done a little bit of research beyond just playing the game and finding some interesting and quite funny occurrences from the internet. So, let's go to jail with me. Hasbro lawsuits. Oh, this is quite a surprise. Honestly, when I looked this up and did research on it, I genuinely did not expect to get some of these single civil cases and lawsuits that I have seen on the internet. But here, let me share them with you. The first one is the EU trademark invalidated. This took place in 2021 when the EU General Court that ruled that Hasbro acted in bad faith by refiling an EU trademark for Monopoly, the ID in 2011, to avoid providing proof of use. The decision, stemming from a lawsuit by Croatian board game seller Kreativni Događić, I'm pretty sure I mispronounced the name, invalidated the trademark for certain goods. Yeah, that seems pretty alright. The second lawsuit is something called Ghettoopoly, made in 2003. Now this is an interesting one. For those of you who know what Ghettoopoly is, it is a rather, how do I say this, controversial clone of Monopoly taking place in the hood, where all the gangsters and robbers are. But Hasbro filed a lawsuit against them because it was a parody game that drew outrage for its offensive content. That is quite funny. And the third one I want to show you is copyright disputes. There is one more lawsuit that I will discuss about, but will be talked about in more detail as we get much further down the iceberg. There is a Monopoly game that was made because the creator hated the original Monopoly and wanted to make fun of it. Hasbro filed lawsuits against them, had it taken down, but we will get more to that one further down the iceberg, as this one is the most interesting. Assault and Rage. Remember the thing from Layer 1? Assault and Rage is when the frustration of a game as immersive and lovely as Monopoly turns into a violent altercation. If you look on forum posts, you'll see that more often than not, games of Monopoly end in such heated emotions that some people decide that throwing hands is the best way to conclude an otherwise family-friendly game. And it's ridiculous. These stories are everywhere. People literally get into fights because of Monopoly. Well, there's a reason why this game is notorious for ending relationships and friendships. I love it all the same. 2023 Samurai Sword Fight. This is an extension of Assault and Rage because this is a really, really interesting case. After a game of Monopoly, tensions were so high that both of these people drew out Japanese swords to have a duel with each other because someone lost in the Monopoly board game. Seriously, go look it up. I'm not joking, this actually happened. You know a game has to be crazy, a board game that literal swords from the medieval ages were drawn on each other because of the heated tension from what happened. In fact, seeing this inspires me. I want to play more Monopoly. And maybe one day I will draw out my sword to defend my honor, to defend Bond Street, my favorite property in the game. More about Bond Street later. Darker meaning in the game. This would not be layer 3 of the iceberg without getting into some more delicate subjects. People always play Monopoly. And they always say, where is Monopoly? But they never ask, how is Monopoly? Or what is Monopoly? There is a dark meaning behind the truth about this game, and that is the dangers of greed. Oh, this game is all about owning everything. You must take everything for yourself. But you know what? That's what makes the game so appealing. Taking things from other people. Yes! I feel good about that already. I would say it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, but you have it too! Don't wag your finger at me. So yes, greed is the darker meaning of Monopoly, if you look and overthink it a bit too much. Why jail is in the game. Monopoly is quite a fun, bubbly, atmospheric game for all the family. So why would some mature theme like jail and being locked up be put there in the first place? Well, before I answer that, did you know that in World War II, a Monopoly game board was used several times to hide prisoner of war escape plans using a Monopoly board? Funny piece of history about using that while in jail in real life. Now, to answer the question, back in the times when the game was actually made, jail was part of everyday life, and so exposing the concept of being locked up to children wasn't such a concern back then. That is the only theory I know about. If you can find a better one, put it in the comments, as this topic interested me. Rare variants. While Monopoly has over 4,000 versions of itself, which truly wrap your head around how insane that is, there are some versions which are much, much rarer than others and harder to obtain. Now, I won't talk about too many of them because there are a lot of ones which are either very difficult to or just straight up impossible to get. I will list a few off right now of the most interesting ones I can find. First of all, there is Monopoly Luxury Edition. This isn't that what you would call a rare version, but it will definitely be rare because no one buys it. This thing is like $500 to $700 because it is made of a wooden box with fancy materials, and it is perfect to be put in a rich man's house. Other rare variants include one that was some Ribena drink version of the game, because back in 2022 someone won a competition and was gifted this copy of Monopoly. Another one that I found interesting is, who cares, I'll just skip to the best one. There is one Monopoly which is more valuable than literally every single other one. A person called Sidney Mobile made a Monopoly fit for a king, and its price is $2 million, because this version is completely made of gold. Absolutely everything is either gold leaf or 24 karat gold pieces, truly fit for a king. Tier 4, In Jail. This one touches deeper on the more disturbing aspects of things that have happened around this game, regarding from murder cases to other greater crimes. We will touch on some more deeper aspects here. Deaths from the game. We are already in the first one of Tier 4, and we have gotten to people dying over Monopoly. There are 4 cases which I can find about people who were killed because of such an excellent board game. The first one is the 1987 shooting in Echo Park. A 26-year-old man was shot and killed after trying to borrow money during a heated Monopoly game, involving a 70-year-old Richard Boge. That is quite insane, but you know, this is a competitive game, and anger can lead to violence, and violence can lead to death. It's quite predictable and mildly disturbing for something as seemingly trivial as Monopoly. The second case is 1991's landlord murder. A young couple murdered their landlord during an argument stemming from a game of Monopoly. Isn't that a bit funny? So, in a game about paying rent, the tenants killed a man, probably because they didn't want to pay rent in real life. I mean, would you really be surprised? The frustration is just horrifying. There is a 2018 murder-suicide. A family game night in Kellyville resulted in a murder-suicide following a 3-hour argument over the game. Now that's just petty. You don't kill a family member over a game, come on. Then there is the 2022 shooting. A man in Tulsa, Oklahoma shot at his stepfather and stepsister after a Monopoly game escalated into a violent confrontation, according to Kiro 7 News Seattle. My goodness. And other than this, there were plenty of non-fatal incidents that has resulted from anger mixed with Monopoly. You never hear stuff like this happening with chess or checkers. What makes this game so special? You tell me. Counterfeit currency scam. A 2016 criminal case involved a gang that scammed high-end jewellery dealers out of over £500,000 and up to £700 million in related frauds by using fake euro notes, sometimes marked with the word Monopoly, to pay for real diamonds and luxury watches. This sounds a bit hard to believe. Why would they just give so many jewels over Monopoly money? Well, it's not that simple. The criminals, led by a man named Gianni Acamo, targeted dealers in London, Bristol and Leeds. They would initially build confidence, sometimes using real money for smaller transactions. Here's what happened though. During large transactions, they would switch bundles of real cash for counterfeit notes. These fake notes were often banded together with the words Monopoly or facsimile hidden underneath the bands. The gang targeted high-profile independent jewelers, for example. They defrauded the celebrity dealer named John Kelleger of diamonds worth millions in London and stole watches and diamonds from another dealer in Bristol. That is insane. You are actually mixing... So this happened 10 years ago as of recording this video. Mixed in real money with Monopoly money to steal £7 million worth of jewellery. How greedy can a man get? The gang was eventually arrested in November in Nottingham, where police found fake notes, genuine currency, and stolen jewellery hidden in plant pots. In June 2016, the members of the gang were jailed for a total of 22 years for their roles in the conspiracy. A bit long in my opinion, but oh well, I'm not the law. Here's the insane thing about this. The fact that they managed to get away with this for a while in the first place really just goes to show, if Monopoly never existed, so many, like a good dozen crimes would have never been committed. Actually let that sink in the next time you open a board game. That board game. McDonald's Monopoly fraud. Oh, we're not done with fraud. Yeah, we've got another pretty large case where the McMillions scandal involved a rather long-lasting fraud in a 12-year period where a security officer named Jerome, Uncle Jerry Jack Jacobson, stole high-value McDonald's Monopoly game pieces, distributing them to friends and family to claim $24 million in prizes. The scheme got so bad that it was exposed by the FBI. Hey guys, this game is so crazy, the FBI got involved, can't you believe it? Leading to numerous arrests. The perpetrator was a man... Oh yeah, I already told you. Look, this is how he did it. Instead of delivering top winning prizes, example $1 million or cards, to McDonald's locations, this guy stole them, the winning pieces, and gave them to his associates. And yeah, so eventually the FBI was tipped off in 2000, launching an investigation which got the man caught. Actually insane. My goodness, I didn't even think Monopoly would have such crime history behind it. I'm genuinely surprised. 1975. Terry Floyd disappearance. This was a man whose knowledge about him is very limited, and the story is quite short but disturbing enough to belong in the deep end of the iceberg. Terry Floyd played a game of Monopoly, and right after that walked away, disappeared, never to be found again, even after 50 years. That is how short the story is. It's horrifying to think about. But who knows? Who knows what has become of him? I wouldn't like to dwell on that. Unsolved mysteries always get me the most. We have reached the bottom of the iceberg. Here is where the bottom side, the lowest section, is. Over here starts to drift away from crime scenes and things surrounding the game into a more philosophical approach. This is Tier 5 Mortgaged Bond Street. Let's dive in. Monopoly Beta. Monopoly used to not be called Monopoly. It was originally called the Landlord game. In 1902 to 1903, there was a woman named Elizabeth Maggie who designed the game and playtested it in Arden, Delaware. The game was created to be a practical demonstration of the present system of land grabbing with its usual outcomes and consequences. She based the game on the economic principles of Georgism, a system proposed by Henry George with the object of demonstrating how rents enrich property owners and impoverish tenants. She knew that some people could find it hard to understand why this has happened and what might be done about it, and she thought that if Georgist ideas were put into the concrete form of a game, they would be easier to be demonstrated. Maggie also hoped that when played by children, the game would provoke their natural suspicion of unfairness, that they might carry this awareness into adulthood. Well, talk about an origin story to warn about some dangers of a very real problem. Isn't that the irony when a multi-billion-dollar company purchased this game and turned it into a board game empire where they almost claimed a monopoly on board games? They were only unable to defeat chess and checkers, but we all know how impossible those titans are. Anti-monopoly. If you paid attention to earlier tiers, you would have heard me mention this. But here we are, a full explanation. Anti-Monopoly was a game made by a man who hated where the Landlord's game has become, and he decided to make his own version. This game of Anti-Monopoly functions just like the original, except now you play as two different people, a monopolist and a competitor. They play by two different rules where they go against each other, and with each side having different upsides and downsides. One side plays as the original Monopoly playstyle, and the other side tries to counter them. Sounds pretty fun, right? Well, Hasbro didn't think so. They eventually sued them, because they already knew it was an attack on their own brand, and it got so heated that it almost destroyed Monopoly forever. But, as we can see today, that did not happen. So, can you imagine a board game so unbelievably provoking that it has caused fights, murders, a sword fight, lawsuits, scams, and now another board game made just to destroy the original? Can you believe that? Well, it's here. It's Monopoly. I didn't think it would get this far. Here we are. Discontinued tokens. Everyone in their childhood, if you are quite an old person, would have had a favorite token, and be rather disappointed in purchasing the 2025 version of the game to see that your favorite token was removed. Now, why Hasbro decided to do this, I actually do not know. Some were determined by community votes, and a few of them were even brought back, but we'll get to those right after. The following tokens that were retired in the game's history, and this only includes the standard editions, not the over 4,000 plus editions, are the following. The Battleship, retired in 2025, voted out and replaced by the return of the Sack of Money. Wow! The T-Rex, retired in 2022, phased out after a short while from 2017 to 22 to make room for the returning Thimble. Oh, that's a classic. The Boot, retired in 2017, removed after being part of the game since 1935. Yikes. The Wheelbarrow, retired in 2017. My goodness, removed alongside the Boot and Thimble. The Cast Iron, retired in 2013, replaced by the Cat. I hate that one, actually. I really liked the Iron, and I do not like the Cat. Now, these were the historically retired tokens from the old times. The Horse and Rider, retired in 2007 to limit the token count to 8. Bet you never heard of that one. The Cannon was removed from the standard set in the year 2000. Who wouldn't have wanted to play as a cannon? That probably would have contested with the car. The classic. Okay, probably not that much. The Train, included in deluxe sets, but dropped from the standard lineup in 2007. The Lantern, Purse, and Rocking Horse. Why does Hasbro like just getting rid of the coolest tokens and then just replacing them with lame stuff like the Penguin and Rubber Duck? Car with Driver. A second car. Interesting. Airplane, briefly available in the late 40s following World War II. Oh, that's a keeper. There were two that were unretired, the Thimble and the Sack of Money. I liked the Thimble, but it's like, come on, it's not worth it. Moving on. Brown is the best color set. You heard me correct. In Tier 1, there was an entry called Orange is the best color set, but that knowledge is for people who have no idea how the game works. Brown is truly the best color set, and here is why. Brown is the cheapest color set. It only costs $60 to buy one. 2. Players are willing to give Brown quite often, and very easily unless they hear about what I'm about to say, which is quite unlikely. 3rd reason. It is extremely cheap to build houses. But you might say, but light blue is extremely easy. Correct, but brown only has 2 properties, meaning you only need 2 to build houses. 4. It is extremely easy to build 2 hotels on browns, and the fact that you fully develop a color set before anyone else does means that people stepping on browns with hotels will give you quite a bit of money, taking money from them, preventing them from developing their houses. Also, brown might not be placed in that good of a spot, but more often than not, people are going to land on browns. And while they will traditionally land on browns and think, this isn't so bad, now you make them worried. No one wants to see hotels on brown. If you do not believe me, try it. This is such an underrated strategy. You need to try this. Monopoly mind manipulation. There is a lot more strategy to this game than just making deals. Picking the correct color set. It is memorizing and understanding what makes every player tick, what irritates him, what makes him like you more, and what makes him feel like he's in a false sense of security. My advice here is to make him like you at the start. Use his trust as a currency. Now, if you want to keep it for the whole game, that is actually viable. Build a good friendship, and together you may make good deals that benefit you both, or probably benefit you a bit better. Or build it up really high, and then hit him with a trade that sounds good on paper, but in reality destroys him. Monopoly is a game about winning, and in a competition like this, you cannot have true friends. The reason it is this deep in the iceberg is because this has nothing to do with the game, but the real person you are versing. Do not try these strategies on AI if you are playing a digital copy for obvious reasons. All bets on Bond Street. Listen here, I know this from experience. When all hope seems lost, and you have to mortgage everything, there is one thing you do not mortgage. Bond Street. All bets on Bond Street. Build as many houses as you can on Bond Street. Then watch the player land and watch his smirk turn into utter horror as you reclaim the victory from him. It has happened to me. I loved it. It was amazing. But would it happen to you? Probably not. But hey, there's only one way to find out. Tier 6. The Abyss Layer. There is always a deeper part beyond the iceberg itself, reaching the very depths of what the subject Monopoly would take you. This dives in to hits the ocean floor regarding the meaning of this game and the very identity of its core. This is Tier 6, Mr. Monopoly himself. Who is Mr. Monopoly? You see his face in almost every version of the game. You keep seeing him as some friendly guy, egging you on to keep playing. But who is he? The answer is very simple. Mr. Monopoly is the winner. The one who always completes the game on top. You aren't playing his game. You are his game. Based on a true story. Believe it or not, Monopoly is based on real events. What time? Oh, funny how you ask. You tell me. This game has been running for over 100 years. And you know what else has been running for over 100 years? Landlords and their ownership of entire city blocks. This game is based on a true story because it has happened, will happen, and continues to happen. Speaking of which, the 100-year warning. Monopoly was originally created, as I mentioned before, as a warning to young children to invoke the feeling of unfairness. It is to warn the people why monopolies are a bad thing. To let people know that there is only one winner and everyone else loses. This game is only fun at the start, just like it was in the real world, when there was land, prosperity, and competition. The game always ends tragically no matter what. One person wins, everyone else loses. Or the other thing is there is a stalemate and the game is packed up before that happens. But this warns about the first outcome. One person will always beat the rest of us, and you have to make sure that person is not you. Death of capitalism. This game marks the start, the middle, and end of a cycle. The cycle is called capitalism, but what is in real life portrayed into an extension of over 100 years, tying back to the last several ones actually, all in this layer. The game ends when one person owns it all. and eventually it crumbles and restarts, where everyone owns nothing again. Think about it. The reason you pay rent. Have you ever played Monopoly, landed on a property and thought, why would I have to pay rent if I'm not staying at a house? I wondered that too for years, until I finally figured it out. The reason you have to pay rent is not necessarily because you stayed in a house, even though that is technically what you do. The reason is because you crossed into their borders, meaning you have to pay that nation or person's taxes. Makes you just think, are our countries just one big color set? Think about it. Games end. Every Monopoly game ends in one of two ways. Either the game board gets flipped over as a stalemate, or one person owns it all. And this ties into every single thing at the bottom of the abyss layer. Every single person is only playing a simulation of what happens in reality, made as a warning to those who see it on the front. Mr. Monopoly represents the winner of every single game, and this game, along with the system it warns against, has been going on for over a century. The game ends in the real world, sooner or later. No one knows when that time will happen, but when it eventually does, everyone will own nothing, and perhaps once more, the cycle begins all over again. And that was the entire Monopoly Iceberg, ranging from stage 1 at the very top of the iceberg, down to the bottom of the iceberg and even the abyss layer. I personally found this very fun to make, as I was the one who actually made the iceberg itself, and recorded this video. I had a lot of fun making this, even though you're not supposed to take all of this way too seriously, unless you want to. I certainly had plenty of fun putting this together and then presenting it to all of you, the audience. If you like this kind of video, as opposed to my more gaming central videos, just let me know in the comments, and who knows, maybe I might make one about some other game or a different topic. Anyway, this was a lot of fun. You know, the usual algorithm stuff, I'm not gonna beg for it. And have a good night or day, wherever you see this. And remember guys, this is just a board game, and Mr. Monopoly will always be waiting there, holding his properties, waiting for yous to come back, and for your children to come back, and then your grandchildren to come back, until this game truly ends.